This is for the postgraduate. This is for you being in school. This is for the person who needs to make an important decision. This is for the person that's getting ready to make a big move. This is for the person that is trying their best to do what God is calling them to do. This is for the person that's trying to make ends meet. This is for the person who feels like they need to be applying for jobs. This is for the person that feels like they need to be applying to school. This is for the person who's just trying to make an important decision. And what I found is most people's issue isn't necessarily listening to God. It's not necessarily following what God is telling them to do. It's the outside voices that come and add unnecessary pressure. It's the outside voices that come with questions. It's the outside voices that come with their opinions, their bias, their own judgment. It's the outside voices. And it's so crazy because whoever has your ear will have the greatest influence over your life. And it's just so crazy because most people, it's like, let's say you just graduated college. The graduate is thinking about, okay, well, what's next? And the graduate wants to listen to God. The graduate wants direction from God. The graduate wants to do what God is calling them to do. But then they get to the dinner table and then everybody's saying, well, what you about to do with your degree? Or how are you going to use your degree? Are you going to get a job? What's next for you? Is the degree going to make you money? You know what I'm saying? And then what happens is the voices put you into a place where you're under pressure. It makes you move in haste. It makes you feel like you have to come up with something that you're up to, come up with a plan. Oh yeah, I'm getting ready to do this. Oh yeah, I'm getting ready to do that, just to silence the voices. And the whole point of all of this is I really believe we need to get to a place where we are so comfortable saying that I am waiting on God as an answer, as a response. When someone asks us, what are we doing? What are we up to? What do we have planned? Just to get comfortable with saying, I'm waiting on God. And that's okay. Not, well, let me come up with some long story. Let me come up with some long plan that I feel like I formulated. I'm waiting on God. And if God has not spoken yet, when someone's asking us what we're getting ready to do, we just say, God hasn't spoken yet. And that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's the voices. Most people, they probably have clarity. They might have saw a dream. They might have saw a vision. They might know exactly what God has told them to do, but it's all the outside pressures from the voices around them that's making them move and do things that they're not called to do. It could be a voice of social media. It could be the voice of family and friends. It could be the voice of colleagues and coworkers. It could be the voice of your own teachers. Sometimes some people, even their own pastors, they're all these different voices. The voice of social media, you see all your friends graduating, you see all your friends working at these jobs, you see all your friends getting these apartments, you see all your friends doing all these things, and you're like, well, what am I doing? It's the voices. But this is the most critical voice I feel like could also be of detriment to us. It's our own. When we start telling everybody our plans, we start making all these announcements, we start telling everybody what we up to and what we getting ready to do. And then what happens is sometimes God redirects us. Sometimes what we thought was the plan, all of a sudden God steers us in another direction, but that's not the problem. The problem is now we got to go back and explain to all the different people, yo, this is not what I'm doing no more. And that's okay. But then the voices will get in your head and try to make you feel unstable, try to make you feel like you're crazy, try to talk you out of allowing God to shift your plan, to shift what you're getting ready to do, how you're going to execute it. And that's where the issue comes in. So I always say, don't let your own voice be your enemy. There's only select few people that need to know certain things about what you're doing, what you have planned, what God is speaking to you about. You don't need to make announcements. Everyone's on social media telling everybody what they're up to. And some people are a slave to the plans that they made. You get what I'm saying? It's so critical. Like, for example, they say the average college student changes their major by junior year, and that's okay. Like, everybody wants to have something figured out because we all like control. We all like to feel that settled, like we feel like we have a plan. But at the end of the day, God is the one who establishes our plan. He orders our footsteps. So the real voice that we need to be listening to is God's. What did God say? What did God tell me to do? What is God telling me to do? What is God not telling me to do? And that's the voice I need to consider. There's a lot of great voices in our lives, our parents, some of our wisdom, some of our counsel, and that's amazing. And we consider those voices. But there comes a place in every believer's life as they mature. They get to that place where they realize that this decision that they need to make, God will put them in a position where his voice and his voice alone is enough. And see, as you grow, it's okay to listen to people. Because some people really do care about you and they want to help you. They want to steer you in the right place. But even myself, I got to that place in my life when I was really young, and I needed confirmation so bad. I was like, I just need somebody to confirm what God is doing in my life so I can make this decision, because it's a big decision, to the point where my mom wasn't able to help me. Some of my pastors weren't able to help me. Some of the people that I really looked to for counsel weren't able to help me. And I asked God, I said, God, why am I not being able to get this confirming word from certain voices? And he said, son, I'm bringing you to a place where you can listen to my voice and my voice alone and move and trust me. And when we step out and we do what God's calling us to do, our plans will always succeed. And some people need to see God's hand in your life so that they can stop overwhelming you with their voice. So the key is make sure you're hearing from God. See what I'm saying? It's so easy to say, oh, I heard from God. Make sure you are in the presence of God to hear from God about your plans or about what God is doing in your life. So when you do step out, it's not that so you don't make a mistake or you don't fail. It's just that if we're going to be confident in what God is saying, let's make sure we're actually hearing from him. You see what I'm saying? But it's the voices. All these different voices in our ears, to the person who feels like God told them to be still, but parents and people are saying, why are you not working? But God told them, I will provide in this season. The person has no issue with following God. It's the voices. It's the people that we have to see, the people that we have to update, the people that are coming and asking for updates. When you don't have an update, when it gets uncomfortable, when you're like, yo, like, I'm not really sure right now, that's okay. You know what I'm saying? But it's the voices. Everybody always trying to be in the know. So it's very critical. And this is what I will say too. There are some people, if we don't always update them, if we don't keep them in the loop, they'll always give us advice based off how they see us, how they perceive us, and from their own level of ignorance. And what I mean by that is there are some people that are going to talk to you when you have all these dreams in your mind, and they're going to be literally talking to you about the complete opposite thing. But you can't get discouraged. You have to know, oh, they're speaking from their perspective, not necessarily in the spirit. That's very important. And so I would say, let's get in the presence of God and hear what God is saying. When we're in that critical place, trying to make decisions, we're in that critical place where we're starting things, we're beginning things. Or again, like we just graduated, or we're looking for jobs, we're applying places, or we're just thinking about what God is doing in our lives personally. You have to know what God is saying for you. That's the voice you need to be listening to. All the other voices, they'll only add pressure, only make you move in haste, and those are not great leaders. But there are voices that you can listen to, that God will use to speak into your life. Those voices bring encouragement. Those voices bring joy. Those voices bring peace. Those voices bring clarity. Those voices bring encouragement and reassurance. Very critical. And ultimately, it probably will challenge you, but you need to be able to hear the voice of God in people. Very critical. It's the voices. It's so important. We can't listen to society's norms just because this is what society says you're supposed to do. This is what the American dream is, or this is what everyone else is doing. No, what did God call you to do? What did God call you to do? What did God call you to do? That's so important. That's what you do. I don't care if it doesn't make sense. I don't care if it doesn't look good on paper. I don't care if it looks like it won't make you money. That's not your leader. God is your leader. Wherever God takes you, wherever God calls you, that's where you go. We literally don't. What God will say is challenging, but he gives us the grace and he gives us the strength to do it. It's when you're so enthusiastic and then somebody comes and goes, well, how is this? I don't understand. And well, what are you going to do next? Or what are you doing about this? It's like, oh. And then we start making up these fake scenarios in our minds just so they can be quiet. Like I'm saying, like you sit at the dinner table. Hey, what happened to that girl you was dating? What happened to that boy you was dating? Oh my goodness, here we go. There goes the peace. You know, like for example, Naj, you graduate college and you're like, let's say God tells you be still. You know what I'm saying? God tells you be still right now in this season. And then here go her parents. Yo, what you about to do with that degree? Okay, but you can't be just sitting around. And then she'll come up with a plan like, all right, well, I am about to work for it. See, no, that's not what God said. And in that moment of pressure, we'll start making up these things. And then we become a slave again to this plan. Game over. That's the issue with our generation. It's not starting a thing. It's starting over. Like, you have to humble yourself to hear God say, this is not what I called you to do. I need you to redirect. I need you to get back to my presence, get back to the drawing board and do what I called you to do. That's the struggle, because the voices. What is social media and them going to say? Dang, I just made this big old move and God's telling me to go back home. What are my followers going to say? Dang, I got all these views on all this big accomplishment, but God just told me this is not what he wants me doing in this season. Dang, I know people, who started a business and God told them not in this season. And they had to shut everything down. That takes humility. But we build the house on the instructions of God. That's our strength. And the house that is built without God, the labor is in vain. We ain't got time for the wasted money, wasted time, wasted energy. Are you kidding me? But we all in. We all in. It's the voices.